Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be turning one of my favorite fall drinks, the pumpkin chai with sweet cream cold foam, into one of my cakes. So I've had this idea in my mind for a while now, so I'm super excited to try it out and see how it turns out. So let's get started. Alright, so for the cake, I'm going with a chai cake, and I'm actually going to be using a recipe from a cake by Courtney. So she has a chai white chocolate raspberry cake, so I'm just gonna use her recipe for the chai cake and then make my own pumpkin buttercream for it. So first it has me mix in all my dry ingredients. So she uses cake flour, which I don't know, for some reason I've never had the best luck with cake flour. I feel like my cakes turn out too dense when I use it. So today I'm just going to be using regular all-purpose flour. So instead, since it calls for 3 cups of cake flour, I'm going to do 3 cups of regular flour, and then we're going to take out 6 tablespoons. All of our seasonings, and I honestly didn't realize how many seasonings made up chai. So we have nutmeg, ground cloves, cinnamon, ginger, allspice, pepper, and cardamom, which I have no idea what that is, but we're gonna see how it turns out. So first it has me add in a half a teaspoon of cardamom. Basically, it's going to be half a teaspoon of cardamom, half a teaspoon of ground cloves, 1.5 teaspoons of ground ginger, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of allspice, 1/8 of a teaspoon of black pepper, 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, and then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So I'm going to add all that in right now, and I will list all of those out right here for you guys so you can see what you need to get. So once you have all of your spices added in, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of baking powder. And now we're just gonna whisk it until all of the spices are mixed in with our flour. Okay, so we're gonna set aside our dry ingredients and start working on our wet ingredients. So it says to mix in 1 cup of butter that you have had set out at room temperature, and then we're gonna mix that with our sugar. All right, and it's gonna be 1.5 cups of sugar. All right, now we're gonna mix this on medium speed for about 3 minutes until the butter is nice and fluffy. Okay, once it's been 3 minutes, we're going to scrape down the sides of the bowl, and then we're gonna whip it for another minute. Okay, next it says to add in the eggs. So we're gonna do 4 large eggs and 3 egg yolks. So I'm gonna have it on low speed and then add it in 2 eggs at a time. Okay, so once that's all mixed in, we're going to scrape down the sides of the bowl again, just to make sure that all of the butter and eggs are mixed together. And then we're gonna add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So the next step is to add in the dry ingredients that we mixed up earlier. So with the mixer on low speed, I'm gonna add in 1/3 of my dry ingredients. And then I have 1 1/4 cup of buttermilk, so I'm gonna add in half of that and just alternate between the dry ingredients and the wet ingredient. Okay, so now once all the ingredients are incorporated, I'm gonna go through one more time, scrape down the sides of the bowl, and then mix it just for a few more seconds. You don't wanna over mix your batter because this can cause it to sink in the oven, which we definitely don't want. So just make sure to mix it just enough to where all the ingredients are incorporated together. Okay, now it's time to weigh out our batter and then put it in the oven. So I'm just gonna weigh out and make sure that each pan has the same amount of batter. If you guys don't do this, I highly recommend that you do because it just makes such a difference when it comes to decorating the cake because each layer will already be the same height and just makes it a lot easier on yourself. Okay, now they're ready to put in the oven. So I have my oven set to 325, and since this is a thicker batter, we're gonna cook it for about 35 to 40 minutes. So I'm gonna check on it at 35. If it needs more, then I'll put it in for the full 40. Okay, so while our cake is in the oven, I'm gonna get started on the pumpkin buttercream. Now, I've never made this before, so I'm kind of just winging it here, but hopefully it'll taste good and I can use it on this cake. So to start off, I'm just gonna cream my butter, which I usually do when I make buttercream, so that part is still gonna be the same. Except I'm gonna do a little less than 2 cups, which is what I usually do. I'm gonna do about, let's see, 2 tablespoons less than 2 cups. And then I'm gonna add in some of my pumpkin butter, which I recently got at Hobby Lobby. I usually get my pumpkin butter from Trader Joe's, but they're kind of lagging this year. I mean, I know it's only September, but they still don't have any of their pumpkin stuff. So I found this at Hobby Lobby and I already tried it. It tastes amazing. So we're gonna see what it tastes like in our buttercream. So I'm just gonna add 2 tablespoons of the pumpkin butter to replace the 2 tablespoons of regular butter that I took out. And now I'm just gonna mix this on medium-high for about 3 minutes till the butter is nice and fluffy. Now we're gonna add in 6 cups of powdered sugar on low speed, and I usually do this 2 cups at a time. Okay, so once our powdered sugar is all added in, I'm gonna add in a pinch of salt, 2 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream, and then usually I would do a teaspoon of vanilla extract, but I found this pumpkin pie syrup at the store today, so I'm thinking maybe doing a teaspoon of this instead. So we'll see how it turns out. Now we're gonna beat it on high for about 5 minutes until the frosting is light and fluffy. Okay, so after beating it for 5 minutes, your buttercream should look light and fluffy like this. And I actually decided to add 2 more teaspoons of the pumpkin pie syrup, and then also 2 more tablespoons of the pumpkin butter, and I feel like now it is the perfect pumpkin buttercream. Okay, now time for the fun part, decorating. A good crumb coat on it. I'm gonna put it into the freezer for about 10 minutes and then it'll be ready for its second coat of frosting. Okay, as you can see, there's a high side and a low side. So when we're filling it in with our acrylic disc, remember to always fill in on the low side first. So I usually just place my hand on the high side and it will lift that disc up to the same height that you have on your high side. So then it makes your cake perfectly leveled. Okay, now before we put it back into the freezer to set the second coat of frosting that we just put on, I'm gonna add some graham crackers to around the bottom half of the cake. And I just crushed up some graham crackers and mixed in some cinnamon and pumpkin spice. Take it off of the baking sheet that I put under, and then just hit off any excess. And now it's ready to put back into the freezer. Okay, now that the outer layer of frosting is set, we can go in and add our buttercream to the top of our cake. And then I'm gonna finish it off with some piping on the top of the cake. Alright, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time.